Yo, what's up, guys? It's David, joined with Cheyton.
How's it going, guys?
We're going to start, or gonna continue our podcast. This week, we're talking about our 2025 free agent predictions. English is today. You want to do it first?
Sure. The top free agents of this year. I think this is a really good free agency class, especially in the wide receiver department. Just going off the top few names, you got T. Higgins leading the chart. Like, I think he's the best player in this entire free agency class. You got Chris Godwin, you got DeAndre Hopkins, and I know people might say this is a weird option, but Devontae Turpin, like fastest dude in the league. I will say that hands down. He is the fastest dude in the league. But yeah, they're all free agents this year. It's going to be a weird free agency frenzy that we're going to see this year.
Maybe Eagles might get an upgrade.
They do need it. They do need it.
For mine, I picked quarterback, running back, receiver, and defensive star as my tops. I'll just go ahead and start. Quarterbacks, I think my top for quarterbacks would be Justin Fields.
I
He,
agree.
I mean, as backup, he was still putting up pretty good stats. He was,
He should have been the starter all year.
he should have, and I think that Steelers should take him out. I mean, as a backup, he had over 1,000 yards with him and what, one interception for the whole time.
I think he
And
had like one interception
for,
and one fumble.
yeah, but for rushing touchdowns, I think they, going into what we'll talk about later, I think it'd be smart for them to just fully just say goodbye to Russ and just be like, Austin, we'll give you another year at least.
Russell Wilson to the Raiders. Pete Carroll reunion.
I think Russ maybe has 1 or 2 years left.
I think he has one good year left, but he's going to try to push it. He's going to try to go another few years.
And running back, I put Alexander Madison. He needed a better spot than fourth. He didn't get enough playtime being their fourth string.
That's the thing, though. He was predicted to be the starter. He just got outplayed by everybody in Vegas.
Uh, But if you don't give, like, I understand he played in a lot of games, but and still got outplayed. But you got to get him to a team that can fit him, as well as a team that can provide enough support for him, a team where he'll be able to get the reps and also learn from bigger stars. So having him as a second string playing under one of the great ones in the NFL right now would
Go
give
back to
him
Minnesota, play under Aaron Jones.
be able to get those reps right alongside one of the greats. And be able to develop, and they didn't really have a good running back core to begin with.
Yeah.
So give him to a team where he can actually learn how to perform, but also be able to, if needed, be able to be put into the game, not be the fourth guy to be put in the game.
Absolutely.
So I think he's one of my top running backs. I think everybody else is I think it's just an age game with the other ones. The other ones are pretty old compared to him. He can do great if he was given a different chance.
Absolutely.
And then wide receivers, I went with the obvious, T. Higgins.
Number one player in the free agency class.
Yeah, Bengals should definitely tag him. I understand there's a lot of money issues there,
He's not going to
but
play on the tag. If he gets tagged, I have a feeling he's going to sit out until he's traded.
or go to a team that needs to play him. There's plenty of teams who are needing receivers. Like you have all these star teams which have their receivers, but then you go down a few teams and it's like, okay, you go from teams with stacked receiving cores to teams with no receiving core. Get him on one of those teams to either carry it all in his bag or train the other guys.
Absolutely.
And defensive, I put Javon Holland. No matter where he goes, he can at least add that extra support. And if he goes to a team that already has some like at least a star, even if it's cornerback. He'd be able to get up to that top notch. He just needs that extra coverage development and those
Absolutely.
quick passes, being able to kind of see it in that short time span. If it's deep coverage, he's fine. He has the time to kind of learn what the receiver's doing, but when it comes to those short, quick passes, just needs development on coverage there.
Absolutely. Javon Holland's my number one defensive player as well. It's kind of cut and dry. If you're going to be the best safety on your team, chances are there's going to be a lot of people interested. And on that topic, I think we should get into predicting destinations and franchise tags for some of these players.
Yeah. I'll let you go ahead and start this one.
All right. So I made a list of the top 15 players on a Pro Football Focus. So first player on there is T. Higgins. Obviously, I honestly have a feeling he's either going to go to the Chargers or the Patriots. I think he's going to go to a team that needs a wide receiver one. And I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people who say, well, Ladd McConkey is the Chargers wide receiver one. It can be 1A, 1B in that situation. They just need wide receivers. Yes. Imagine if Justin Herbert had T. Higgins and Ladd McConkey last year.
And that superstar he needs.
Exactly. Like, Ladd McConkey was great. Don't get me wrong. Over 1,000 yards in his rookie season. But, dude, having T. Higgins on that roster with Justin Herbert and Ladd McConkey would have been fantastic.
I mean, you fill the whole field right there. You have a QB who can pass both short and deep really well.
Yep.
And get a few yards if he needs to on a rush.
Exactly.
But also, you have somebody who can play deep and somebody who can play short medium.
Ladd McConkey was the best person in the midfield this year.
So you get Higgins there, and it's like solid. You have it set no matter where you need to be on the field.
Higgins is down there somewhere. But I also feel like the Patriots are a logical place for that as well, because if he goes to the Patriots, automatic wide receiver one. Yes, on a team that's rebuilding, but Drake May, if he could be the number one option for a quarterback like Drake May on a rebuilding team, it'd be like, okay, cool. It makes sense. Why not? Where do you have T. Higgins going?
I left that part blank because I feel like no matter where he goes, it'll be solid for whatever team it is. I think he's either just about or right at his prime. And I think if he just gets a little more time under his belt, he'll be able to get that extra oomph he needs. I mean, even if he's playing under somebody who might be a little better than him or guys who are a little bit worse than him, he's going to be at a set spot. He's going to be able to make an impact no matter really where he goes.
Makes sense.
I just put whoever he picks or whoever picks him.
Next name I got was Trey Smith, the offensive guard from the Kansas City Chiefs. I said he's either getting franchise tagged and he's going to stay in KC, or I think he's going to go to Chicago on a massive contract.
Yeah. I think if they franchise tag him, that's going to be quite a bit of money that they're going to need for kind of strengthening their team a little bit more. Because as much as the Chiefs are great, they have spots they need to work on. So I think he's most likely going to be going somewhere else. No more Mahomes, please. How I feel about Mahomes is how I feel about Dak. They're great for shows, but that's about it. They don't perform as great as they used to.
So, yeah, I think the Chiefs are likely going to tag Trey Smith, and they're going to try to do a long-term contract, and I don't think it's going to work out. So, in all honesty, I have a feeling he's going to go to Chicago, because you got to think about it. Chicago just drafted Caleb Williams last year, and guess what happened? He was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Like, as a rookie, you let your number one overall pick get sacked more than any other quarterback in the league. If you get an offensive lineman like Trey Smith and lock him down for years, you are going to be in a solid spot to protect Caleb Williams. If that's who you see as your franchise quarterback, then you need to go out and get a guy like Trey Smith to help protect him.
Yep, he he can defend blind sides really well.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you get somebody who can defend Caleb Williams blindside, and I mean, you'll be set. You can get him more time in the pocket. He can actually have more time to get
Give
the
him a
ball off to
couple
these
extra
guys.
seconds.
Exactly. So yeah,
Well, let DJ Moore get open. Let Cole Kmet get open. Let Romo Dunze get open. Like, you cannot expect Caleb Williams to be able to just step back and throw it to these receivers who aren't getting open. That's asking for him to throw 24 interceptions in a year.
yeah, and I mean, you can only throw if you don't get sacked.
Exactly. If
A
you are
risky
getting
throw
hit
is better
every
than a
single
sack.
play. Yes. Uh, we saw what happened in the Super Bowl day.
That was there's nothing Mahomes could have done about that. He was gonna get sacked.
That's true.
That defense
Speaking of which,
freaking
I saw a post, and apparently during the Super Bowl, the last time they played the Eagles, or like, I don't remember which Super Bowl it was, but they were wearing shirts that said 0 sacks on it. And a whole bunch of people were like, huh, imagine that. And then it showed that the Eagles sacked Patrick Mahomes 6 times in the Super Bowl. And I was like, yeah, they ain't wearing those shirts again.
and 4 of them were on one down. I love that part.
Yeah, one drive,
Or,
but I get what you mean.
yeah. Yeah, that. Yeah. Going into the next person, we went with, I think, for my franchise tag, Stephon Diggs. I think he'd
You think
be.
Houston's gonna franchise tag him?
I think so. I mean, they they don't have a clear replacement, so it'd make a logical franchise tag. Franchise tag. I mean, he already has. I mean, a little bit of experience with him. He just needs time to heal a little bit more and get back out there, getting his reps in, being able to get more game time in. He did great when he was healthy. He just needs to get
Absolutely.
healthy again so that he can be great again. And they have a pretty good team. There's some places where they need to develop a little bit, but I mean, if they go with the franchise tag there, that leaves them with a little bit more breathing room, and like knowing that they have a good player there rather than trying to fill this spot and fill all those other spots.
Yeah.
But
So Diggs, I said Houston, but I don't think he's going to tag. I think it'd probably be a 1-year deal again. Like, just see how he's playing after he's done healing with his torn ACL. I also put Dallas because I have a feeling he's going to want to play in Dallas with Trayvon. And then sleeper choice, I don't know why, but I have a feeling that if Tyreek Hill does get traded out of Miami, I think he might end up going there and being a really good complement to the Jalen Waddle on the other side of the offense.
yeah, that'd be a Stephon in a Miami jersey.
It'd be clean.
Yeah. I mean, all of those are logical, but I still think that they're gonna go with the.
So I got Javon Holland. I think he's going to go to Buffalo. I think he switches teams in the division. I think Javon Holland leaves Miami and goes to Buffalo. Buffalo, I think they're going to throw a lot of money at the secondary this year. And I just have a feeling that Buffalo's going to throw a lot of that money at Javon Holland just to be like, hey, we're your best shot at a Super Bowl right now. Miami isn't going to get you there. Come play with us. Let's get you a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think Javon Holland goes to the Bills. And if he doesn't go to the Bills, he's going to go back to Miami.
All right. One of the predicted destinations I had for free agents is Jordan Lewis to the Giants.
You think he's going to swap to a division rival too?
Yeah. I mean, Giants need not necessarily a slot cornerback, but a support for their slot cornerback right now. And that's exactly what Jordan Lewis is.
David, be real. The Giants need anything and everything at this point.
They just need people who can work with the other people.
So on the Giants train, I think Jameis Winston's probably going to go to the Giants. I think Jameis Winston might go to the Giants and compete for a starting job.
He's capable, definitely capable.
He beat the Ravens last year.
Yeah, I mean, not many people did.
No. Chris Godwin. Where do you have Chris Godwin going?
I didn't put Chris Godwin on my list.
Oh.
I not that I didn't do it. I did I did 3 franchise tags and 2 destinations, predicted destinations. So I just didn't get to him.
Man, we did
Uh,
not coordinate very well.
no, he did not.
I told you exactly what I did. I said I got the top 15 from this website, David.
You know how hard 15 is to do in 4 days?
I did 14 in less than 10 minutes, David.
But you know these guys. I got to do
That's
research.
true. That's true. Yeah. Chris Godwin, I said he's going to go back to Tampa. I don't think Tampa lets him go.
You think he's going to go back to Tampa?
I mean, the season he was having before he got hurt, it would be insane for Tampa Bay to be like, you know what? We're going to let you go somewhere else.
You didn't perform well enough while you were in.
The fact that you sat on the bench the entire time while your leg was broken kind of makes me think you weren't putting in effort. But yeah, no, I think Chris Godwin goes back to Tampa. I think him, Mike Evans, and Baker Mayfield still end up being one of the best trios in the NFL.
They just need to be healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing with almost every team right now is people are getting injured so easily.
Yep.
They're making all these rules to try to prevent injury, and then more injuries are happening. And just let boys be boys.
Don't hip drop, horse collar, shit. Targeting, frick. Okay, that's already a rule. What's next? Don't tackle the man. Flag football only.
I mean, freaking kickoffs are boring now. You can't even start running until dude catches the ball.
Like, I miss seeing one dude run across the entire side of the field to just launch himself all the way down.
You know, it's like you're setting the dudes up just to run into a wall.
Absolutely.
You give them time. You're giving them a better chance at being open, which I understand. Hey, got to make it fair. But at the same time, it's football. It's not, hey, let's make it fair. It's, hey, who's doing the best? Who's performing the best?
Who's next on your list?
I talked about it earlier, but Justin Fields, the Steelers. He is a better pick for the Steelers when it comes to QBs.
I agree, but Justin Fields is not going to go back to the Steelers who benched him to underperform at the end of the season. I think he's going to go to the Jets. I think the Jets give him a massive contract to, like, first-year head coach with the Jets and Aaron Glenn. I have a feeling he's going to say, you know what, we just got rid of Aaron Rodgers. Why not get a young quarterback, get a couple years out of Justin Fields real quick, see how he does with the Jets.
Go from a late-term 40 to a
mid-20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, we don't know how Aaron Glenn's offense is going to be run.
Yeah.
We don't know what kind of play styles we're going to see from the Aaron Glenn offense in the Jets. It could be a perfect scheme fit for Justin Fields. And then he already has Garrett Wilson. He already has Devontae Adams. He has Breece Hall. Like, he has weapons there for him. Why not set him up nicely there?
Yeah. Get him that start team. Yeah. Who's next on?
I got Khalil Mack.
He's old.
I don't think Khalil Mack goes back to the Chargers.
Absolutely not.
But I have a feeling. So I put the Lions or the Bills.
Bills would be a fun one.
I think he might go join Von Miller on the Bills. I think he's just going to go ring hunting. I think he's going to go ring hunting and just try to make that defense as unstoppable as possible. But I also think that he might go to the Lions. We saw what happened to the Lions defense in the playoffs. You gave up 40 points to the Commanders at home. Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, like, so many injuries just on the defense. And if they had a player like Khalil Mack, who had a revival season with the Chargers last year, it's like, okay, cool. That would have been awesome to have. But instead, you're rocking with nothing at that point. The corpse of Zadarius Smith.
I think with a lot of the free agents we have right now, at least the older guys in the free agency, it's going to be hey, let's pick these guys up to train these other guys, get them the reps with these guys, because Khalil Mack, beast. And it's not like I'm just going to throw this whole team on my back. It was all me that did the work. I'm not going to help anybody. He's helped people. He's helped plenty of people get better. So throw him on a team with these younger guys who like still start him, but also have him in there so that he can show them how to do these things, show them what to look for. Just a lot of the guys this draft, it's gonna be a hey, we need you here for to support this season, but also support the guys that we have coming on.
I mean, we've kind of seen it with the Bills with Von Miller the last couple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
The development of Greg Russo and Ed Oliver and AJ Epinesa, like all of them have been developing quite nicely, and I think it has a lot to do with Von Miller just being there. Who's next on yours?
It is I put him as a franchise tag for the Vikings.
Byron Murphy.
Huh?
You said Byron Murphy.
Uh, oh, I think he's going to be a franchise tag for the Vikings. He, I mean, he did pretty well. I mean, 4,000 plus season, 35-12 win. Wasn't a bad season. He has the receiving core.
Obviously.
They just need to keep a good quarterback in their lines, and I think Sam Darnold would be plenty enough for what they have right now.
So here's the thing, though. I do agree Sam Darnold is going back to Minnesota, but where does that leave J.J. McCarthy? Where does that leave J.J. McCarthy? Do they trade him and just try to get max value immediately? Like the 49ers, or no, the 49ers didn't even do that with Trey Lance. So like, yeah, do they just kind of hope that everyone still sees the mass value that they see in J.J. McCarthy?
I mean, what were his stats last year?
Zero. He tore
He
his
didn't.
whatever in his
Yeah,
knee.
I think it was ACL and the bit of his knee. Yeah,
Yeah, the first game of
but
the preseason, he tore
yes,
he
I
tore his
mean,
knee.
it's either gonna be a hey, we don't know what you can do. We're gonna see what you can do, or it's gonna be a hey, we don't know what you can do. We know what this guy can do, so we're gonna go ahead and trade you somewhere
That ends up leading into where's the best destination for JJ McCarthy?
right now. I think
Seattle.
either Seattle or who's San Fran's QB right now?
Brock Purdy.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. Oh, we get rid of Brock Purdy. Let's go with.
Because Cleveland's taking a quarterback. Tennessee's not going to take a quarterback. So Tennessee could be an option too, but like, I don't see it. The Giants.
Jacksonville. I mean, they have get rid of Mac, get rid of
Get rid
CJ.
of garbage. Get rid of garbage pail Trevor Lawrence.
I mean,
Garbage pail with long blonde hair. Goodness gracious.
there's pretty much anywhere that doesn't have a star QB right now can take JJ McCarthy and be like, let's see what you can do.
Seattle with JJ McCarthy, have him learn behind Geno Smith for a year.
I'm biased against Geno Smith.
Why?
I just
You're not
I
a
just don't like
Seahawks
him.
fan. You just
I
live in
know.
Washington.
I know, and I think that's one of the things it is I just don't like the Seahawks in general.
See, that's the funny thing. I live in Texas, but I'm one of the few people who likes Dak Prescott.
We are opposites there.
Hey, Dak Prescott under any other general manager / head coach, aside from Jerry Jones or Mike McCarthy, I think Dak Prescott does good.
And you mean like the people who's all about the money and all about the, hey, I want to be seen?
Yeah. Because Jerry Jones is something special.
I mean, if you do get put him on a team where it's going to be, okay, we're going to focus on developing you, playing you, getting you good, he'd be a lot better. But he's on a team right now where we just want to look good. We got our cheerleaders looking good. We got to have that team looking good as well.
We got the cheerleaders looking good. We got a beautiful stadium because AT&T Stadium is beautiful.
Yeah,
but
inside
the roster, we're gonna pay you $200 million, and then we're just gonna kind of keep drafting everybody.
I just don't want JJ McCarthy to go to the Seahawks because he's going to learn that temper that everybody else has.
That's fair.
He doesn't have a great attitude. I mean, like he got JSN, which he's got a pretty good attitude.
Hey, he hasn't learned
You
from
got
DK enough
Julian
yet.
Love. DK, that would be not a fun person to learn from. I think that he's too early in his career to go to a team with that much attitude problem.
So at that point, he just needs to stay in Minnesota.
Stay in Minnesota or go to a team that has good sportsmanship at least.
The Rams, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, anywhere other than the Seahawks and Chiefs.
So moving on, I got DJ Reed, the corner from the Jets. I have him going to Vegas, or I have him going to Arizona. He has come out and verbalized that he does not want to stay with the Jets.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, neither do I. And so at this point, I think he's going to go to a team where he's going to want to be a number one option or a number 1A/AB or 1B option. Because if he goes to Arizona, he's going to be sharing that cornerback one spot, I think, with Sean Murphy-Bunting. But if he goes to Vegas, it's going to be him and Nate Hobbs also doing 1A, 1B duties there. And I think him with the Pete Carroll, I think him going to Vegas would be a really good move. Because
I think
he did
for
play with Pete Carroll.
anybody under 30 who are still like open to learning new things, Pete Carroll would be an awesome coach for these people learning how to do things. But past 30, they're either going to Pete Carroll or still with Pete Carroll. They're going to be stuck in these ways that they think is working, which the reason they're going somewhere else because it's no longer working. So get these younger guys who are still trying to learn. Send them to one of these older coaches who have been in the league for a while, have seen generations of just different ideas, play styles, have them train there. But that also goes into saying he is 28, only has 6 years.
Probably not even 5 to 6.
Yeah. You really only see 30s with linebackers, the quarterback.
And linemen.
Yeah, linemen.
Both offensive and defensive, but corners, safeties, receivers you can see in the mid-30s. But
if they didn't start out as starters, these people that are starting out as starters, they get hit so much or they're hitting so much that their body just wants to get out. Linemen, they're literally training for just a whole bunch of pressure. They get hit a lot and are hitting a lot, but it's static movements. It's not running across the field to hit. You're right there with somebody the whole time, and then occasionally having to try to get.
Absolutely. Because look at Calais Campbell. He's 38 and still playing.
I think linebackers, they're in kind of that middle ground of they're not going to be super old when they retire or get injured and just have to call it. But they're also not going to be just turning 30 saying, oh, I'm thinking about retiring, because they can play that pocket. They don't have to go too far. They have the safeties if it gets too deep. But at the same time, they're having to get those tackles when it does come down to it. So they're having to put their body on a full.
I miss Luke Kuechly. He shouldn't have retired this early.
Yeah. I think that would be one of the reasons why Khalil Mack goes somewhere, is so that he can train these people to be as good as him, Luke Kuechly, Von Miller. So it's like, get him somewhere where he can train. He's already put up enough numbers to hold his own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let him help other people put up their numbers.
Who you got on your list next?
That is it on my list, so we'll just keep going through yours.
Amari Cooper.
What?
I know how much you like Amari Cooper.
Si, senor. Last year was not the greatest.
He played with Cleveland, and then he was on a team that, yes, Josh Allen does pass the ball, but that was a running team.
Yeah. I think just getting him to a pass-heavy team again, getting him as one of the receivers for Philadelphia. Like, they're going to be a run-heavy team, but at the same time, the reason why they're so run-heavy is because they got to preserve their receivers for the bigger moments. He'd be a solid options to put on that receiving core. He'd knock one of the starters down to fourth, but you don't think?
Jahan Dotson, yeah. But
But
he's not going to take over Devontae Smith, and he's definitely not going to take over AJ Brown.
oh no, not saying like top two. I'm talking he'd take that third spot.
Yeah, he'd take the third from Jahan.
But it'd also leave enough room. He's an older guy as well. He's even just ending. He probably still has. He's one of those people that probably still has another few seasons.
I think he plays 2 years.
You think 2 years? But I mean, still having him go on a team like that, and I think these next few years, it's going to be really repetitive on this one, but just using these next few years to train the guys who haven't been able to get that training because we've had so much superstar football these past few years that they're only highlighting these top guys, not really focusing on the, hey, we're going to build up everybody on the team. It's, hey, how can we make these guys look the best on the field? So getting these guys to kind of flip the script and go more of, how can we make everybody great rather than
Yes.
how can we keep these great guys great?
Absolutely.
So I think he's another one where it's going to be, hey, let's put you on a team. Let's get you reps, but let's also have you train other guys with it.
So for me, I have Amari Cooper. Option 1, I think he's going to go to Arizona. I think he's going to go be a number 2 receiver in Arizona, have Kyler Murray actually have the second option behind Marvin Harrison Jr. Because I think that's what really made it difficult for Kyler Murray to try to get the ball to Marvin Harrison was he did not have a number 2 guy. And if he has Amari Cooper, that gives them the number 2 receiver. So Marvin Harrison Jr., Amari Cooper, and Trey McBride, that turns into one of the better trios in the league right there. But if he doesn't go to Arizona, I have a feeling he's just going to stay in Buffalo, try to get a ring with Josh Allen, and just help the development of Keon Coleman.
I'm doing some last minute kind of, hey, let's look at these free agents. Okay. Jonathan Jones.
Corner on the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. He's in free agency right now. I think sending him to, I don't think Ravens would be a good fit, but Saints or Colts, putting him there to give them better, because he can play either cornerback or safety. He has both of those positions. So being at those places, he's with solid franchises, so he's going to get the publicity. But at the same time, he's going to be able to, strengthen a team, but also get some good training because they have great teams as well.
So Jonathan Jones, he is one of my more underrated guys. I have a feeling that if he does leave New England, because I think there's a possibility that they just keep him and have him work with Christian Gonzalez. But if he does leave, I think he's going to Rams. The Rams need some more corner help. That defense was a liability in the past game at times, and if they had an extra corner, it would have been great. So I think Jonathan Jones might just go supply some depth for the Rams defense there. But in all honesty, I think he stays with the Patriots on a cheap contract to work with Christian Gonzalez somewhere.
Nick Chubb. Where you got Mr. Chubby?
Poor Nick Chubb. He's not going to start anywhere.
He would be like a third down back. He'd be a
red zone. Goal line, yeah. He's going to be in that area.
Because he can get those few yards that they need. He can get it time after time, but he's not right, we need good yardage, let's put him in. So he's going to have to be that red zone, just like an inches type of player.
And I don't even know of a team that actually needs a backup running back right now.
It's less just looking at running backs, but just looking at what team needs red zone support.
Yeah.
Depth and red zone support.
Miami, maybe? Have him go play with his cousin? I don't blame him if he decides to say screw Cleveland and just not listen to an offer, but in all honesty, it's Cleveland. I can see him taking a super cheap contract to go play in Kansas City. I'm not going to lie. Go team up with Kareem Hunt again. Actually, Kareem Hunt's a free agent too. So yeah, I have no idea. I could not tell you where I think he's going to go at this point. What
Gonna
about Josh
crumble.
Sweat, Super Bowl hero, 2.5 sacks on Patrick Mahomes? Where do you think he's going to go?
He's a kind of fill your spot kind of guy. If he can play good enough anywhere, I think no matter where he goes, he's gonna do his thing.
I have two spots for him. He's staying in Philadelphia. That's the first spot I have him going. Or he's going to Denver.
I think
I think Denver. I think Denver's going to be a sleeper team for a lot of defensive players, especially on the defensive line, like just edge rushers. I have a feeling Denver's going to be a very underrated spot that we see people decide that they want to go to.
I think in terms of teams that need a linebacker, not really saying this is where I think he's gonna go, but I think the teams that should at least try to get him would be Indianapolis. Indianapolis would be a solid one. Hey, we need somebody who can we need some get in there. We need somebody who can cover if they need to cover. And he'd be a solid pick for Indianapolis. In terms of logical picks, not necessarily my prediction, Indianapolis would be a solid place for Joshua.
Yeah. I think we should do two more players and then move on to our next subject here. You want to do one and I'll do one?
Yeah, you go ahead, go first. I'll end.
Charvarius Ward.
Where do you have him?
I have him going to Pittsburgh. I don't have any other team on there for him. I have a feeling he's not going back to San Francisco. But I have a feeling that the play style in Pittsburgh matches with what he likes to play. And they always like to have a CB1 on that team. Charvarius Ward is still young enough to where he can supply that for a few years. And so having him there, especially because he could play the 1A or 1B role with Joey Porter Jr., like, why not have an extra guy there? Minkah Fitzpatrick, Charvarius Ward, Joey Porter Jr. Like, get it going. Just get the ball rolling. Get Charvarius Ward. Help that defense out. Get the secondary to make some plays so TJ Watt doesn't feel like he has to do every single thing on defense.
Yeah. I think my last guy who I'm surprised you went this long without mentioning him, Bobby Wagner.
He's going back to Washington.
That I was thinking either Washington or he go to Raiders.
He's not.
And his
I don't
season because I doubt he's going to put many more seasons in. 34.
With the success that he had with the Commanders and Dan Quinn's defense again, I can't I know he likes Pete Carroll, but dude, Dan Quinn changed the entire culture of the Commanders. Bobby Wagner was the leader of that defense. I have a feeling that Bobby Wagner is just going to go back.
Isn't he a leader of?
Exactly. The 1 year he was on the Rams, he was the leader. He went back to Seattle and was immediately the leader again.
There's not much you can do against him, which that's going along with that. It's, again, one of those things of there's not really a bad spot for him. He just needs to find a spot and stick to it until he's tired.
He's a very plug and play player. Like, you can put him in any system and he will shine.
Because he doesn't focus on what's everybody else doing. It's, hey, where's my guy going? Where do I need to be? And he will, if he's not able to lock down the pass and like the dude does catch it, it's going to be hey, he didn't get many yards. You're already on the ground.
I mean, when you look at middle linebackers, he is a constant name in the top list since he's been since he was drafted. For the longest time, it was him versus Luke Kuechly, who's the best linebacker in the league. And now, when you look at it, Fred Warner, yeah, he's up there, but guess what? Bobby Wagner is still almost just as good as Fred Warner is. And that's saying something because Fred Warner is freaking insane.
12 years, he has over 1,000 solo tackles.
Yeah.
He'd be a solid pick anywhere, and he'd be a good, all right, we need a captain to just take control of this defense. How can we make it the best for him?
Absolutely.
All right. Next up is...
Who do you got winning and losing free agency this year?
In terms of overall, who do I think is going to get the most picks for who they're going for? I think because they are Super Bowl champs, a lot of people are going to want to go to the Eagles. I think that wherever they need to fill, they'll be able to fill. They can get a new linebacker, which I think having Bobby Wagner there for 1 year to replace Zach Bond.
Zach Bond's getting re-signed. I think Howie Roseman's going to get Zach Bond back.
Probably, but but it's going to be hard to kind of go against, hey, we just had a dominant season, winning the Super Bowl. I mean, we're going to keep most of the same guys, so we have a little bit of flexibility in our salary cap. Let's get somebody from free agency to just fill one of these holes.
Absolutely.
And then I also have Titans because, I mean, if they have, it's not necessarily the, hey, people are going to want to come play for them. It's a, hey, we have enough money. They don't have that many high star players, so it's not going to be a lot of spending just on the players they already have. It's going to be a, hey, we have the money. Let's try to get somebody from free agency to come play for us. Let's try to get a few people to come play for us. And if not, let's try to trade for some people. Let's try to open that gap a little bit.
So I kind of went the same route you went for the Titans, but I went for their ex-head coach, Mike Vrabel. And I said that the Patriots are going to end up winning free agency just for the fact that people want to play for Mike Vrabel.
Yes.
He is a very disciplined head coach. He does not put up with anybody's BS. The team has money. Like, he's building this team to win, and it's starting with the coaching staff. He's made perfect signings there. And now it's just going to be, okay, cool. Now we got to find out if he's going to build the roster, and I think he's going to be on the right track there, especially if he decides to keep Kendrick Bourne, because benching him for the 2 weeks that they did or 1 week that they did to help the rookies grow. Dude, if Kendrick Bourne is your number one wide receiver, I don't care what you're doing. Have him be your number one wide receiver.
I mean, a player can only learn as much as they know, and if they can't see him play, they're not really gonna learn much off of that.
Oh, they skipped out on Ladd McConkey to draft Jalen Polk. And guess what? Ladd McConkey had a game this year, I think it was versus the Patriots, that he had more yards and catches in that game than Jalen Polk did all year. The guy that they drafted over Ladd McConkey had like less than 200 yards on the season. So yes, I think Mike Vrabel is probably going to end up winning free agency this year. I think people are going to want to play for him, and he has the money to spend.
Do you have a second, or did you just do one?
That's the one team I said I think they're going to be the clear-cut winners.
For losers, in terms of not only getting people, but also who they let go when it comes to free agency. I mean, Denver, they're losing key talents, and they don't have the resources to really replace them.
You said Denver?
Mm-hmm. They may have the money, but they don't have much other
The
than
market.
that. Yeah. I mean, their coaches are mid, their play style's mid.
Hold up.
Compared? All right. Great coaches.
Sean Payton is a great coach, and their defensive coordinator is freaking insane. That was one of the best defenses we have seen in a very long time from Denver, and it led to a Defensive Player of the Year award for Pat Surtain. So hold off with the mid coaches. Offensive coordinator, maybe, but still, Bo Nix had a great year.
Okay.
So I think you're misinformed on the coaching staff there.
And then my other one is, I think overall losing just because of how they're playing their team is they're overpaying for the stars they have, and it's not leaving enough room to develop their team at all.
So the Chiefs are one of my losers as well. I have 3. I got Kansas City, I got Cleveland, and I got New Orleans. KC and New Orleans, I have them on here because money. Like, the amount of money they have does not correlate with the amount of talent that they're going to need to, 1, re-sign, and 2, get out of free agency. Justin Reed Trey Smith, DeAndre Hopkins. Those are the three big names for Kansas City that they are losing out on just on their team. And so it's like, cool. That's just Kansas City's problem right there. So they're going to need to try to find money to hopefully bring a couple of those back because I don't see them actually signing DeAndre Hopkins again. But
he was a fill-in.
he was a fill-in because Patrick Mahomes blew out his receiver's knee in the 5th game of the season. But yeah, like they don't have the money to try and retain Justin Reed and Trey Smith because both of those guys are going to be expecting a decent contract. And then New Orleans, their team is so old and all of the players are just money, money, money. Like Cam Jordan making a lot of money. He's still a high performer, but it is a lot of money.
They have that seniority.
Derek Carr, not a good performer, making a lot of money.
Mr. Injury himself.
Yes, sir. And like the offensive line, they are a very mid-tier offensive line who's making a lot of money. Demario Davis, great player, very old, making lots of money. And then Cleveland, dude, Nick Chubb, he literally destroyed his knee for you guys. You guys didn't help him win. Myles Garrett has put up Defensive Player of the Year numbers every single year he's been in Cleveland, and he has nothing to show for it. You guys made Baker Mayfield look to be the bad guy and the bad quarterback, and guess what he did? He went to Carolina, was not very good there, but that's a Carolina Panther problem. Carolina's terrible. They're my favorite team. I can say that. Nobody else can say it. He goes to the Rams, looks pretty freaking good there with Sean McVay, and then he goes to the Buccaneers, makes the playoffs twice, and a massive contract was thrown his way because guess what? He deserved it. He's a good quarterback. Cleveland is a rebuilding team that is hiding behind a couple good defensive players.
Show a dude his work and he'll live up to it.
Exactly. Like, they do not have a quarterback on their roster right now that is worthy of a starting gig. Deshaun Watson needs to get cut. As much as I love Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he is not an NFL quarterback. He was awesome in college, but he's not an NFL quarterback. Jameis Winston, dude, he overperformed what I thought he was going to do in Cleveland, but he's out. He's not going to go back to Cleveland. Like I said, I think he's going to go to the Giants. And so it's like, you have Denzel Ward, you have Jeremiah Wosu Koromoro, whatever, like however you pronounce his last name, and you have Myles Garrett. Like, you are a rebuilding team hiding behind a few good defensive players, and one of them wants out. Those are my three losers this year.
What's the next one?
Favorite signings from last year, and do we think any of those any of the players in this year's class is going to have the same impact as any of the players this year, like of this year's signings?
I think the overall obvious one, because of the season he had, was Saquon to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yep. That was
hands down
one.
The bet. Like, I think that might be my favorite free agent signing in a really long time.
And then going along with that same team, another free agent signing they had, Zach Bond, was
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Zach. I mean, the Eagles had such great signs, and it showed. It definitely showed, but I think Zach Bond just fortified that defense.
Like, they took a special teamer for the New Orleans Saints, gave him a 1-year contract, said, "Cool, come play with us." And guess what he did? Easily became an All-Pro. Picked off Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. I think another one of my favorite signings, like staying in the running back realm, J.K. Dobbins to the Chargers. J.K. Dobbins had a very great year with the Chargers. Even with him being injured for part of the season, he had a great year with the Chargers. I will say the beginning of the season, his run, quote unquote, that he was on, it was cool. But a lot of those were hit, like, a lot of those runs were kind of just 4 or 5 yard gains and then one random big 50-yard gain, just hiding all those small yards. So like he was gaining yards,
I mean, but
but
running back, really, all the running back needs to do and all they're required to do is get that 4 or 5 yards. Get that 4 or 5 yards.
if you average 4 yards a carry, you are a good running back in my book. That is because guess what? If you get 4 yards a carry and you decide to run the ball 3 plays, guess what? You got a
First
first
down
down.
every time.
You get a first down every time.
Yep.
David Montgomery is a perfect example of that. He's honestly my favorite running back in the league right now. Knuckles. That's all I got to say is Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles. They're the best duo in the league right now. Josh Jacobs, another great free agent running back sign. Like last year was the year of the running back. It was perfect.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be, there's plenty of spots everywhere, but I think this one's going to be defensive heavy because people are more realizing how much of a need defensive players are in terms of, we like how we're able to score during the season. Defense wins championships. These playoff teams who can only make it so far, it's usually because they lack a defense that can hold up.
I mean, look at Philadelphia's defensive line. How many defensive linemen did they go through in the Super Bowl? Like, not because of injuries, just like because of how much defensive line talent that they had.
I mean, they were able to switch out and keep these guys pretty much 100% through the whole thing because they had those players.
Milton Williams, Jared Davis? Something Davis. Dude, there's just so many freaking people there that are like...
And then you look at the other side and look at Chiefs and their D-line, and it's like
George
they
Karlaftis.
They lost one guy and it all crumbled even more.
Yeah, than it already was during the game.
Yeah. I mean, they only had, you got to have the room to be switching out guys, or else you're just bound to crumble when you're needed.
I mean, looking just at the impact of free agent signings, you got to take into the negative effects of some teams as well. Because Giants, they like when they lost Saquon, everything just came tumbling down. Like, sure, Malik Neighbors, the one bright spot on that team, was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But when you look, like, you also got to look at the negative connotation for the Chiefs. They lost L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans. And guess what? Sure, Trent McDuffie looked great during the regular season, but you kind of need more than one corner to play in the playoffs. Yeah. L'Jarius Sneed was a big reason that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl versus the 49ers. And so it's like, cool. You kind of need it.
Looking ahead, will any of this year's free agents match that impact that these other players had from last year?
I think T. Higgins, if he were to go to the Chargers, I think he has the same impact as Saquon does for the Eagles. I think giving Justin Herbert a clear-cut number one receiver, or like even just some help, that way it's not just him throwing the Lad McConkey. I think giving Justin Herbert that is going to help him take the next step, and it's going to make that Chargers offense a like legit dynasty for a long while.
I put two on mine. I put T. Higgins, of course. Anybody would put him as one of the impact players for this free agency. And I also put Javon Holland. He'd be a steal if that coverage was just built up a little bit more. He can be playing with, like right now, he's probably right under all these big dogs. Develop his coverage a little bit. He can match up with those big dogs. He'd be able to make that much of a difference if that coverage was just developed a little bit more.
I'm telling you, put him on a team like Buffalo, and he is going to be an all-pro.
Well,
I think that is going to be the end of our free agent frenzy episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
There's so much that we can go through, but we're getting on the we're past the hour mark at this point.
Yeah. It's a lot of the things we said in here probably won't even be true because, I mean, free agency is so unpredictable, dude.
Everything is unpredictable with the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, we all got to be prepared for still teams losing key players, not only from what we've already seen, but it's still possible for teams to lose even more. But also teams to build even more, too. We got draft coming up, too. We got a lot coming up.
We just watched Zach Martin retire today. The Cowboys just lost their best offensive lineman.
Yeah. It's a solid career, but
Yeah, like great career. He was a perennial Pro Bowler, but yeah, like we are still going to run into retirements. We're still going to run into a whole lot of different things.
I think right now the draft class is looking solid, but I think we're losing a lot of our still playing legends. We're losing all these all stars, and I think this season is going to be one of those seasons where it's going to be, or this off season, it's going to be like hey, get ready for a league shift.
For sure.
So it's going to be a very dramatic league shift.
I mean, we covered that last week. I think with the Chiefs losing as bad as they did in the Super Bowl, I think this is like a new era.
Yeah. It's
Like, I
no
think
longer
we're
the Taylor
entering a
Swift
new
era.
era. Yep. No, we are no longer on the Eras tour, boys.
I'm just waiting for her song labeled Super Bowl.
For real.
I'm talking about heartbreak there.
It's
Her
gonna be
next
at
country
home.
song.
What Super Bowl was this? Like 56? Yeah, like
It's,
she's gonna have a freaking song titled L56 or something, and it's gonna be about watching her boyfriend Travis Kelce losing the Super Bowl.
59.
L59. Yep. Highway 59 by Taylor Swift. It's all gonna be about the highs getting to the Super Bowl, and then it's gonna turn into a sad, slow song at the end of the song.
It's gonna start out pop, all like fun and yippee, and then it's gonna go to a sad country song at the end.
Exactly.
Taylor, if you do
Hi-
that, we better get some of the cuss for that.
For real. Highway 59. Credit to us.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will see you guys next week. If you guys have any thoughts or anything, go ahead, comment them down below. Tell us what you think, like where your predictions are, and we can review them next time too. See you guys.
Yurt.